Welcome back to Kent Counterpoint, an author's blog. My name is Kent Anderson. I'm a Norwegian author and a journalist, and I'm working a lot of climate questions, the green shift, and energy questions, and all all the green shift that is going on. And of course, I have a critical view on all this. So a counterpoint to everything you hear in the mainstream media. Now, today we are going to talk about math. Oh no, I should have had a blackboard and a white coat actually. But today we're going to talk about climate math because as it is, the world is turning away from fossil hydrocarbons. Now this is a given, right? It's time for renewables. Endless of wind and solar power awaits us. You know, it's free. You know, wind and solar, it's free and it's plenty. So what do we need fossils for, right? Okay, it's time. Climate goals, they are clear. You know, our world leaders has decided just stop oil. Okay. Net zero emissions will happen in 2050. We will be on net zero, and that means we won't release any CO2 from fossil hydrocarbons anymore. That's 26 years. So it's a hairy goal. But you know, sustainability is important, and we're gonna have stakeholder capitalism, and everything's going to be green, it's going to be fine, it's going to be a paradise, right? In 2015, and the climate's going to stabilize, and the climate crisis will be over, and everything will be hunky-dory, you know, because you know there won't be a climate catastrophe. So everyone is good, right? Yes. It's the green revolution to save the planet and humanity. It's a great leap forward, actually, yeah. And a grand plan to save the planet even. And even, strangely enough, make a lot of money on it, right? It's profitable for some. So the only thing that's between these visions and the brave new world that is about to come, that is math. Math. Right, numbers. So we're going to go through the numbers, right? Because math is the enemy of postmodernism, right? It's the enemy of relativism and dreams, because in math lies actually answers. You can't argue with math, you know. 2 + 2 is 4, and it is, you know, it's not relative or a point of view. Math is math, it is, right? It's the answer. So, well, except in the novel, you know, the novel 1984, where math was sort of whatever you wanted it to be. But read the book. So let's turn to some calculations about the green shift. Okay, what does it actually mean? What does it add up to? All right, what are we trying to do according to math? And remember, it's important to remember, we are not only getting rid of what we burn in coal and gas power stations for making electricity, right? It's more than that, much more than that. We're also getting rid of fossil fuels for transport, for heat, for hot water, you know, your shower, for ships and cars and trucks and trains, everything that moves, and all the oil we use for making fertilizer, right? That keeps like 8 billion people alive. That's going to go and be exchanged with hydrogen or something, made it out of electricity. And 4,000 other products we're actually making for fossil hydrocarbons. So everything must go, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, to get rid of all the to get all the electric power that replaces all the hydrocarbons, the energy from the hydrocarbons, you know, we have actually to build insanely much stuff, right? And here are the estimates for like 2050. Now, today, we have about 440 nuclear power plants worldwide. Okay, 440 nuclear power plants. By 2015, we need 21,000. Okay, we have 450. In 26 years, we're going to need 21,000. Yeah, That's how much oil and gas we use. But not only that, we also need more hydropower plants. Now, we have around 50,000 hydropower plants, big and small, in the world, approximately. We're going to need to build around 1 million more in 26 years. 1 million more. Yeah. Well, don't blame me. It's math, you know. You can't argue with math. Math is math, you know. 2 + 2 is 4. And from maybe 500,000 wind plants we have, the wind turbines we have worldwide. Yeah, we have around 500,000 wind turbines. Nobody actually knows, but around 500,000, 500,000. We have to build 28 million within 2050. So 21,000 nuclear power plants, 1 million hydropower plants, and 28 million new wind power stations. So that's a lot, isn't it? In just 26 years? Isn't that? Doesn't that scare the politicians? No, it doesn't scare the politicians, because politicians don't do math. They don't have to, and neither do the climate activists. They don't have to relate to math, you know? They just say, build it, let's do it, we have to do it. So the electrical transmission network in the world, which is a rather big thing, today it transmits around 25 petawatts hours per year. Petawatt, that's a lot of power, okay, 21 petawatts. But this has to be expanded to transmit 242 petawatt hours. That's a 10-fold increase to transport electricity in 26 years. 10-fold, right? So if you own an excavator or a shovel and you like to build things, you are in for a treat. It's gonna be booming business. So let's say we start from today, then everything must be ready in 1st of January 2050. That's 9,447 days from today. Yep. The 20th of February 2024. So we have 9,447 days to save the world and build all this stuff. This means that we have to install 2.08 gigawatts of new capacity of electricity every day. 2.08 gigawatts, including Sundays and public holidays. No vacations for you guys. You know, the construction workers. Smart to be a construction worker, because this is really going to, you know, you got to get jobs. That's around 268 gigawatts wind turbines every day, 260 of them every day. But wait, they only work 1/3 of the time. Oh, damn. So, right. Oh, yeah, because it doesn't blow all the time, so it works just 1/3 of the time. So we need many times more power stations to charge the batteries and make hydrogen for these windless days and when the sun doesn't shine or it rains and it's cold. So, and batteries and hydrogen, of course, has a very high energy waste, right? And so has, you know, these cables. So, yeah, we will probably have to build even more. You know, nobody actually knows. But, you know, if you calculate it, you find some answers and, you know, it's just big, right? So, and to build this, we need insane resources. I mean, and we need insanely a lot of fossil energy, because just cement, we need to actually increase the production of cement 10-folds, you know, because hydroelectric dams and foundations for wind turbines, that demands a lot of cement, of concrete, and that emits a lot of CO2. So the building actually will emit a lot of CO2 of all this stuff. And of course, everything has to be done with diesel, right? You know, because we don't have the transition yet, you know. To build all this stuff, we actually have to use hydrocarbons, right? So that's a massive increase in use of fossil hydrocarbons until 2050. But of course, then everything will be in place and work perfectly. Nope. Nope. So from 2040 to 2050, it's calculated that we must build 4,160 turbines every day. And after 2050, you actually have to replace 2,080 wind turbines every day to replace those who are worn out, because they don't last forever. Like they last like 10 years, 15, maybe 20. The bigger they are, the shorter they last. And if they're in the sea, they last even shorter. So that's 2,080 wind turbines must be replaced every day after 2050. So the building doesn't stop now. You guys with the shovels and the excavators, there's a lot of things to do, right? You know, it's a booming business. Except, of course, it won't happen. You know, they will try and everyone will say, yeah, let's do this. But this is so astronomically big that, you know, there isn't enough manpower, there isn't enough diesel, there isn't enough excavators, there isn't enough concrete mixers to make all this shit, right? The math doesn't add up, right? So, and is there enough rare metals in the world to produce all this power generation and batteries that we need? Is there enough resources? Do we have enough cobalt, enough copper? No, we don't. Lithium, probably, because lithium is very common in the earth, but copper? So we have to actually open more mines, right, in nature. So nature has to go because we need mining, right? To dig up all the resources we need for building this. So, yeah. And what about solar power, you know? Well, if we calculate about 10 watts per square meter as a probable figure, you know, because some places the sun are high and warm, but some places they're not. And given the problems with hot-butted dirt and dust and general degradation. So let's say 10 watts per square meters. So we have to cover an area of 208 square kilometers, solar panels every day. 208 square kilometers of solar power every day to reach the goals, including Sundays. So no vacation, guys. And we got to do this forever because, you know, solar panels also are worn out. So, right, you have to replace them too. And the waste problem from solar cells and wind turbines, that's so big that it doesn't compute and nobody wants to talk about it because you can't recycle most of it. And recycling takes a lot of energy. You know that? You know, if you're going to recycle a battery from an EV car, that actually takes more energy than making a new one from scratch, right? Because it's complicated. So, the math is an enemy of the green shift. That's why no politicians are talking about math, because they don't want to. They don't. This is a dream, you know. This is the pink dragon that you try to catch, but you will never ever catch up with them. So, but we will have electric cars, won't we? Nope. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Own nothing and be happy. To manufacture each EV battery, you must process around 25,000 pounds of brine for the lithium, 30,000 pounds of ore for the cobalt, and 5,000 pounds of ore for the nickel, and maybe 25,000 pounds for the copper. But of course, that will increase because these elements will be rare, more and more rare. So you have to open new mines, you know. And there's probably not enough copper in the world, but never mind that. And you need steel and aluminium and metals, and you know, it's estimated around 500,000 pounds of the Earth's crust has to be excavated and dig up just for one EV car battery. Yeah. So there goes nature. So EVs, in the future, EVs, you know, electric cars will actually be for the rich. But if you're poor and you can't have an EV, you know, and you don't have to worry about that, because actually all the asphalt will be gone, right? Because it's made of hydrocarbons. It's a rest product, actually, from asphalt is actually a waste product. Did you know that? Well, if you pull up crude oil and, you make gasoline and diesel and so on, and at the bottom you end up with asphalt. And what do you use that for? Well, let's pave the roads with it. It's a waste product. And it can be recycled, actually, to a degree. But no more of that, because after 2050, there won't be no oil, just stop oil. So there won't be any roads. So what you're going to end up with, actually, is this great green leap forward is a return to Mao's China in 1962, where everyone used a bicycle on gravel roads, right? That's the future. Hooray! Mao's China. Yeah, that's good. So everything must go, And remember this, that fossil fuels, hydrocarbons, fossil hydrocarbons, they're not only fuel. They say, oh, fossil fuels must go. Yeah, but the problem is that fossil hydrocarbons are not only fuel, right? It's the most important resource for modern industry, We make over 4,000 products from oil, plastic not the least, right? So plastic bottles, all you who keep hydrated with your plastic bottles, aspirin is made from, but also plastic. Water bottles. Are we going to return to recycling glass bottles? Right? Is that? Why don't anyone talk about that? Because in 2050 you can't have plastic bottles, which means we have to recycle glass bottles. That's a lot of sand and that's a lot of energy, and no one has thought about that. And of course, if you recycle those, you have to melt them or you have to wash them, and that's back to the future, because that's what we did in the 70s, 60s. Milk, not in plastic, cardboard, but in bottles. Right. So has anyone actually thought about this? Has any politician sat down and said, okay, this sounds great, but let's do the math, okay? Let's see if this is possible. What does it actually mean, Sounds great, if you're drunk and you talk about it in a party, but, if you start to talk about the math, you probably get thrown out of the party because nobody likes you anymore. But, it's a killjoy. But the math doesn't lie. You can't argue with math. It is what it is. Right? That's why we can send people to the moon, because of math, right? And another thing is that in 2050, everything's going to run on electricity, right? From solar and hydrogen and blah, blah. And the point is, you can't make anything of electricity, right? You can't. You can make a train move with electricity, but you can't make a train, right? Electricity is nothing, it's just electrons moving. You can't make anything. You can't make a phone or a car or a bottle of electric power. You can't make anything of it. I mean, you need resources. You need to dig up dirt. You need to recycle. You need to dig up something and turn it into something useful. And you can use electricity for that, right? But you still need the resources, and that's what we use hydrocarbons for. Not at least to make fertilizer, right? Yeah, we make fertilizer out of natural gas now, right? Can make it of other things, but natural gas are cheap, and it's abundant, and it's a lot of it. So we make it out of natural gas, and fertilizer is keeping 8 billion people alive. And the green shift is a direct attack on the fertilizer business, right? It's actually threatening with genocide, because if we don't have fertilizer for 2 years or 3 years, what will happen then? Well, the crops will fall, there will be a shortage of food, and billions of people will die, right? That's math, okay? It's not something I say. It's not an invention. It isn't a dream or is a vision. It is nothing. It's math. It's a fact. And you can't argue with a fact. You can't argue with math. 2 + 2 is 4. It will never be anything else. Unless you're Greta Thunberg or a dictator. because and this lack of common sense and orientation towards math and science is, it is systematic, and it's very, very, very dangerous. And that is what is keeping this green shift alive, right? To avoid the truth and facts is keeping this bubble alive. But this is just a dream. It's a pipe dream. It doesn't exist. It won't work, right? So this is me digging up dirt behind the facade, and turning it into facts. And these numbers, you can argue about these numbers. Of course you can. Of course you can, because it's impossible to have the absolute correct number. That's impossible. That's not the point. The point is, whatever number you put up and find, whatever number you try to calculate this with, you will end up with the same answer in math. This is impossible. Why do we try? Why do we, this is self-deception, and why do we do that? Well, if you look at my other movies, my other films here on YouTube, it's about a bubble economy, because the very strange thing about this green shift and this enormous, it's a revolution, right? It's a top-down revolution where the elite wants to turn off the people and make a new society. And by some very strange coincidence, this enormous catastrophe, this climate catastrophe that are threatening us, and it's very, 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 very dangerous. It's going to come. It hasn't come yet, but it will come in the future. In the future, that's where the danger is. And everyone knows the future because they got crystal balls and everything. And if you look at this disaster they are talking about, isn't it strange how fantastically profitable it is, right? A few people are earning their living on this. They are reeking in money. They make companies with stocks that are going through the roof, and there's bonuses and salaries, and everyone is in the green train, the green gravy train. And when last did you remember that an earthquake or a natural disaster like an earthquake or a hurricane was profitable? Huh? Because this is, a tsunami, a profitable tsunami? Well, maybe for the people who clear it up, but I mean, how come that the green shift is an enormous disaster looming in the future? And strangely enough, even if we're going to transition the whole society, there's going to be very, very many rich people on it. Now, isn't that convenient, isn't it? Because it's a scam. That's why. That's why they don't talk math. Now, thanks to Mr. Gerd Hosnes for making the calculation for me. He's a civil engineer and previously chief engineer at Kongsberg Group and SINTEF, an NTU researcher and a university lecturer. So I didn't make up these calculations. And as I said, it doesn't matter what numbers you start with, because the numbers are so big, and the answer is, giraffe. This is absurd. It won't work, right? So the green shift will never happen. It won't happen, right? It's mathematically impossible. It's a travesty. It's a revolution of the stupid, but so profitable. And it's so profitable to try. So that's why they're going to try and try and try. So it's a scam. So watch my other videos about the bubble economy here on YouTube. And thank you for listening to me. And remember to subscribe and share and push like. Yeah. And of course, write some comments down and I'll answer you as best as I can. Thank you for now. This was Kent Counterpoint, an author's blog.